Hey, thanks for watching the Coffee with Pip Show. I do appreciate you stopping by and supporting my channel today. So what I'm going to be talking about is why so many food processing plants in America are burning down. We'll get into it right now.
The Coffee with Pips Show. The Coffee with Pips Show. The Coffee with Pips Show. America's favorite foodie. Know-it-all. Welcome, the Coffee with Pips Show.
So are you curious why America's food processing plants are exploding? Not all of them, but a good number in this year alone. And we still have a lot of year left. Okay, so let's see here. In February, Schuer's food processing plant in Hermiston, Oregon burned down, leaving 2 employees injured. Well, thank God that wasn't 1,000 like they do have on staff. On April 13th, Taylor Farms food processing plant in Salinas, California. And 2 on the same day, an airplane crashed into Idaho's Gem State Processing Facility. So this was a pretty serious one, and it definitely could have been an accident, which I think it was. And it's unfortunate because the pilot died. My condolence goes out to the pilot's family. And on April 19th, the headquarters of Azure Standard Food Processing Plant in Defer, Oregon, also burned down. And this is just to name a few. Let's go on. So I hope I'm pronouncing this correct. I did my research and I know that I probably screwed it up, but Schuer's Foods, it's a food processing plant which specializes in private label. And in January 2022, it burned down. Deli Star Corp on January 11th, 2022. It's a processing plant that processes meat and poultry of deli meats and prepare foods, and they're in Fayetteville, Illinois. Cargill Nutrena Feed Mill on January 13th, 2022 in Louisiana, burned down. A Winston-Salem fertilizer plant burned down in Winston-Salem, Carolina. Wisconsin River Meats, February 2nd through 3rd. They were fighting the blaze from one day through the next. In Mauston, Wisconsin, destroyed, burnt down. Louis Dreyfus on February 16th, the largest U.S. soy processing plant, burned down. And they're in Claypool, Indiana. See, there's not all in one area, not condensed to one area. It's happening everywhere around the nation. Nestle Hot Pocket plant on March 16th burned down in Jonesboro, Arkansas. This is one that everybody's familiar with. Walmart facility on March 16th in Plainfield, Indiana, burned down. Okay, Penobscot McCrum potato processing plant on March 24th, 2022 in Belfast, Maine, burned down. Maricopa Food Pantry, and there was around 50,000 pounds of food. This was on March 28th, 2022, and that's in Maricopa, Arizona. Guess what? It burned down. Real Fresh Onion Warehouse on March 31st, and they're located in San Juan, Texas. Yep, it burnt down. Conway Beef and Pork on April 11th, 2022, located in Conway, New Hampshire, burnt down. I mentioned Taylor at the beginning of this broadcast. However, now here's the date. Taylor Farms was a total loss, and it's April 13th, 2022. Again, that's in Salinas, California, and 1,000 people are employed there. Another fertilized company on April 19th, 2022 in Leota, Kansas, burned down. According to Snopes, they describe an article that was written regarding an uptick in fires of food manufacturing processing plants thus far in 2022. A lot of those I named because I did my research on all of those. Snopes said that an article suggests there's been a strange trend of food processing facilities fires in the last 6 months. However, the article starts with a link to a 2019 news article after including 2 additional links to news stories published in August 2019. The author writes, just days later, there was a fire at a meat processing facility in Atlanta. By our count, just days later, it's referring to 700 days later, more than 700 days later. That's true. However, we're talking about 2022. Let's not bring the other years into it. Like I said, there were fires around the nation and in Canada. We're talking about 2022 Snopes. And they're talking about the author who wrote a story. So they said that the author, who they allude to embellish in the reporting of the article, however, this was 2019. And again, we're talking about 2022. You know, especially now with everything going on with the shortage of food and, the ships not being able to get in or offload the food and there not being enough employees to work in the grocery stores. So a lot of grocery stores' shelves are empty, very empty. Some, like Costco, are keeping their stock up. But again, they have the buying power. They can do that. And there's so many Costco's everywhere. And I love Costco's. I mean, you talk about the really small grocery stores. I mean, you have 1, 2, 3, or 10 throughout the nation, or locally in their state. They don't have the buying power, or the franchised grocery stores don't have the buying power. They're not first on the list, or should I say they're not first on the food chain to get supplies. Well, we've seen plenty of people claiming that this is a new trend. We have not yet to see anyone compare the supposed number of recent fires to the number of fires in years past. Well, we're not. We're talking about 2022. Snopes further on says, when we searched for news articles about fires at food manufacturing plants in previous years, it became abundantly clear that this was not a new trend. I just mentioned that. It's not a new trend. It's a trend. Okay, so then Snopes, I don't know. He said, here are a few of the news stories we found about fires, explosions, and other accidents that occurred at food manufacturing businesses. So they name a good number of them, and I put a link to their story in the description below, and you compare. So you'll see a lot of the fires that Snopes list, you're not comparing apples to apples. There are a lot of fires that were self-contained. There are a lot of fires that happen in separate buildings, outbuildings. This is what you have. 2022 fires, I believe, are real substantial. Any fire's bad. It is, don't get me wrong, there's Kellogg's and Tyson that was last year or the year before. I didn't look into those, of course, but I do know that they were big. I think what it is that the fires are so substantial in 2022. Like I said, any fire is a bad fire. It's not good. However, if you're comparing apples to apples, let's compare apples to apples. I don't think that they should call this not a trend. It is a trend. There's an uptick in the, I don't want to say quality of fire, but there's an uptick in the damage and how violently the fire just came from nowhere and erupted. And I do depend on Snopes for a lot of factual finding. However, I think in this case, they got it wrong. You're not comparing what's happening to what happened. And again, like I said, we're talking about now. Okay, so this is a whole new calendar year. Okay, so this is so concerning, and this is what concerns me, is the FBI, on April 24th, the FBI warns of targeted cyber attacks on food plants amid heightened coverage of the fires. The FBI's Cyber Division issued a warning about potential cyber attacks on agriculture cooperatives and food plants amid increasing media coverage of recent fires and explosions at food processing plants across the United States. So, they're curious, I'm curious, you're curious. What's next? If you like this video, or if you like any of my videos, please subscribe below, hit the bell, and I'll keep you posted with new videos that come up each and every week. I really appreciate you watching, and next week, you're going to be in for a surprise. Thank you, everybody, and have a great week.